As mentioned by Katie, there are four main themes when discussing the touchstones of hope, being truth-telling, acknowledging, restoring, and relating. As a nation, we pride ourselves on the work that has been done by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or the TRC. Although some amazing work has come from the TRC, the question is, are we still close to the reconciliation, especially in regards to the touchstone of hope? We aren't. In my research, I focused on the ideal that has been created for Aboriginal communities, especially when considering the overrepresentation of children in the system and the overall overrepresentation of the inconsistent funds and the substance abuse and mental illness. So an ideal has been created, and it's the idea that Aboriginal populations would have equal opportunities on the reserves that they are placed on. Not only does this not occur, but the inconsistencies of reserves across Canada they're also all very different. So there's an evident lack of mental health resources, as mentioned, a higher prevalence of substance abuse, as well as higher suicide rates. So this is a result of the displacement of Aboriginal communities, the result of residential schools, the 60s scoop, and all the aforementioned hardships which these communities have been put into these situations. So, kind of when looking at funding for mental health facilities, I originally found some news articles on the lack of funding that there isn't provided to the Aboriginal communities, but I kind of switched up my findings because I found an article that was released actually April 10th of 2018 about money being or money provided for culturally grounded mental health and addiction programs in the Ontario regions. So $1.8 million over 3 years will be given to this community to expand land-based treatment. So this is not the first article that discusses that, yes, funding is available and being provided, but is it being put towards the necessary resources? The reason I say that is because another news article titled, "Despite Spending Millions on Prevention, Feds Don't Keep Track of the Suicide Epidemic of Indigenous People." So this is an example that, yes, funds are being placed into a variety of resources, but then when considering where the money goes, there's little to no data backing up whether it is being utilized or not. So kind of who's at fault in these situations? So, as mentioned by Katie, the last step in the reconciliation process of the touchstones of hope is the idea of relating. Relating is having recognized that Indigenous peoples are in the best position to make decisions about Indigenous children and youth. We move together in a respectful way along a new path to achieve better outcomes for Indigenous children and youth. However, is it the children and youth who are truly suffering from this intergenerational trauma? So, Aboriginal children and youth now, in present day, were either the children of someone who's affected by things such as the residential schools or the 60s scoop, or just have ended up in the system for any other reason. So, you see the funds, you see kind of the four steps of touchstones of hope, but is it kind of going in the direction of reconciliation? And what can we do as social workers dealing with these inconsistencies? So first we'll show another short film, and then Maddie will be discussing the implications of social work practice. Thanks.